Welcome to Culture Screen, where we analyze culture. In this episode, we are summarizing the 11th episode from Season 4 of the Sopranos series titled Calling All Cars. The episode first aired on November 24th, 2002. In the beginning, in a bizarre dream, Tony imagines himself traveling in the back of Tony's father's vehicle, but for some reason, Carmela is driving. Gloria is sitting next to him in the back seat, as well as Svetlana. Ralph is seated in the front seat next to Carmela. We see he has a butterfly evolving caterpillar on his head. While discussing the dream with Dr. Melfi in therapy, Tony becomes agitated as she tries to help him interpret the symbolism. He complains that the therapy is ineffective because it isn't improving his ability to engage his impulses, and this has had a negative impact on his business. Sophia, Bobby Baccaliari's daughter, notices a cake in the trunk of their car. Bobby then buries the cake at the grave of his deceased wife, Karen, while still grieving for her, and we see he wishes he was with her in her death. After supper, Janice inquires about the cake he buried for Karen while Bobby is resting in bed. After hearing about the cake from Sophia, Bobby acknowledges that he buried the cake in remembrance of their 14th wedding anniversary, which was the first anniversary following her passing. Bobby is given his space to grieve by Janice, who also understands his need to mourn. In the meantime, Bobby's kids are alarmed by this conduct and end up talking about ghosts. Sophia thinks Karen is a ghost now who haunts their home. Bobby III covers his head while sleeping and tries to explain to his sister that their mother is most likely a kind ghost rather than an evil one. Later on, to discuss the HUD scam, Tony attends a scheduled sit-down with Carmine and Johnny Sack. Tony disagrees, and when the matter of Ralph's absence is brought up, he suggests that he believes Johnny is to blame because the HUD scheme involved Zellman, and Zellman is a shared associate by both families. Carmine argues that his New York family should receive 40% of the proceeds as a result of this. Later, while driving, Tony calls Johnny and offers a considerably smaller cut of just 5.5%. Carmine is not happy with this low percentage cut compared to the original 48 he requested. Vic, the HUD fraud appraiser, is beaten up on orders from New York by Joey Peeps so that Vic will work on behalf of furthering the interests of Carmine and Johnny instead. While this is happening, Johnny meets up with Paulie Walnuts in secret yet again, and Johnny suggests to Paulie that if the leadership in the DeMeo crew were to suddenly change, Paulie might be needed to step up and become boss. Paulie ends by telling Johnny that he supports him, and Johnny adds that Carmine has expressed good faith in Paulie Walnuts. In another scene, we see Sunday dinner is provided by the Sopranos for Janice and Bobby, in addition to Carmela's parents. Bobby III looks up to AJ, and so Carmela pressures AJ to play with Bobby's kids, even though he would much rather be spending some quality time with Devin, his girlfriend. When the subject of ghosts is brought up once more, things quickly turn sour. AJ advises using a Ouija board. He tricks Bobby III by claiming to have a conversation with the ghost of a captain of a ship before dripping water onto Bobby III's head with a sponge. Sophia believes Karen, their deceased mother, is there at the seance initiated by AJ, which causes the Baccaliari kids to become worried and afraid. Bobby then comes in and takes them home. Remember, I am summarizing the entire series, so subscribe and click on the notification bell so you don't miss the next episode. I will be reviewing other TV shows and movies as well, so let me know what you would like me to summarize in the future in the comments section below. Doing just these two things helps my channel out tremendously, and I thank you for your support. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Twitter for additional content. Later on, Tony visits Junior while he waits for the outcome of his mental health hearing. Tony finds Junior and sees he is still unbathed and still has shaving cream on his face. Later, the judge dismisses Junior's mental health hearing and chooses to resume the trial as it was. We see Junior is incredibly upset at this, and so Junior's friends concoct a plan to persuade a juror into calling a mistrial. As we catch up with Vic the appraiser, we know he was beaten by the New York crew in a previous scene and is now working for them. As a result of this, Vito Spatafore is sent by Tony to beat him up again as a way of convincing him to return back to working for the New Jersey crew as he was in the beginning. In the meantime, Tony and Silvio devise a scheme to set up an encounter with Little Carmine Lupertazzi Jr. down in Florida. Tony hopes Little Carmine will be able to mediate a more agreeable agreement between his father and New Jersey. They decide to arrange this through Beansy Guerra, the Soprano associate who relocated to Florida after having nearly been taken out by Richie Aprile. As we catch up with Svetlana to end their relationship gently, Tony gives Svetlana a horseshoe pin. Svetlana thanks him for the pin, but rejects him in favor of splitting up with him because she thinks the present indicates that Tony wants a more committed relationship with her. This infuriates Tony, and in therapy, Tony talks about this, at first criticizing himself for splitting up with Svetlana and later confessing that it was actually her who broke up with him instead. Tony believes Svetlana broke up with him because he was too demanding for her tastes, and Tony ends up blaming her breaking up with him on the fact that his therapy work with Melfi is no longer working for him. Tony ends his session by informing Melfi that he is finished. He gives her a kiss on the cheek and sarcastically offers her a horseshoe pin as well, before concluding that psychotherapy is pointless for him at this point in his life. Bobby and Janice are seen arguing over Bobby's infatuation with his deceased wife. Janice argues that he must move on for the benefit of his friends and living family. Later, she communicates with Bobby III on an internet chat room and sends him a mysterious message pointing to some other Ouija board in the home. This then becomes yet another event that ends up scaring the kids. Bobby asks Janice to come over, and he expresses regret over constantly bringing up his deceased wife Karen, and he acknowledges that Janice was correct. Bobby ends by consenting to share Karen's final frozen ziti he had been storing in the freezer since her death. When Tony gets to Miami, he meets Little Carmine as scheduled. Little Carmine understands Tony's perspective on the issue with the appraiser, and he appears to blame Johnny Sack for the tense situation. Little Carmine accepts Tony's request that he speaks to his father Carmine. When sleeping in his hotel room, Tony has a nightmare about being escorted to a house where Ralph Cifaretto is driving along with him in the passenger seat and Carmela is in the driver's seat. We see Tony in the back seat sitting next to all of the women he has cheated on Carmela with. We see Carmela's position in the car represents her as Tony's main accomplice. Upon reaching the home, Tony says to the shadowy figure that he is there to complete a mason job. In this scene, the home represents the hell that awaits Tony. Once Tony enters the home, Tony is woken up by the sound of the creaking door. He steps outside of his hotel room and looks out over Miami Beach. That was episode number 50, titled Calling All Cars. To watch the next or previous episode summary, click on the link in the description or at the end of this video. If you enjoyed this summary, consider clicking like. It goes a long way toward helping me grow this channel. Also consider supporting us on Patreon. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and I'll see you on the next episode.
Guess who's no longer a patient of mine?
We upload new videos every week, so subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to hit the like button as well. Click the notification bell to be notified of when we upload these videos. See you on the next episode of Culture Screen.